I'm sure more people will be coming in. Welcome. My name is Mina Jane. I'm the director of the Ashland Public Library, and I'm excited to be back here again with Leelynn Brady. And you might know her as sometimes Leelynn Reads. She's a blogger, and we are talking about diverse and inclusive books that she has been reading and enjoying lately. So before we get to her, I just want to say thanks to the Friends of the Ashland Public Library for supporting all of our programs. We couldn't do it without them. And also to Leelynn for letting us share this program with other libraries whose communities also enjoy diverse and inclusive books. So in the chat, if you want, you can talk to each other. You can let us know what you're reading, and I'll include that in my wrap-up email to everybody, and also where you're coming from. Leelynn, I know, is way far away from us from Boston, but yet we are connected by our love of reading. So Leelynn, welcome. I can't wait to see and hear all about the books that you're going to be talking about today.
Yes, welcome again. I am in beautiful Hawaii, so glad to be here. And we're gonna go rapid fast because I always have a lot of books. So we'll start with my first book, which is Red, White, and Whole by Rajani LaRocca. It is an Indian American middle grade poetry historical fiction book. So it is told in poetry, prose, but it is historical fiction. It takes place in the 80s, which wasn't that long ago, but it seems like it, right? So the author Rajani herself was born in India, raised in Kentucky, and lives in the Boston area. So very cool. The main character, Reha, feels torn between two worlds, being Indian and also living in America. She's the only Indian American at her school, and she has a very strained mother-daughter relationship. Her name, I want to say, means star, and her mom's name means moon. Yeah, I was right. Okay. I forgot to write those down, but she ends up finding out that her mom is very, very sick. So that ends up going on in that story as well. So she not only has to learn how to navigate her mom being sick and kind of having to grow up a little bit faster as being a middle school student, but also learning about her cultural identity. Is it okay to be both Indian and American, Indian American, and dealing with grief and sickness, and check the trigger warnings is what I would say for this because it did make me cry, is all I'll have to say. So
Okay.
this is the first one, but a very beautiful story that I got to read last year or 2 years ago.
So Reginald LaRocca, actually, yeah, you said lives in Boston, came to our library for a program a couple of years ago and is just the nicest person. And I love that she writes such a wide range of age ranges. Like I think this book is what, middle grade you said?
Yes, middle grade.
But she does picture books and, for YA and just super, super nice. And I was really lucky to meet her. So I'm glad that you recommended her books because she's amazing.
That is so cool. If you ever see her, tell her come to Hawaii. I know it's far, but I'd love to host her.
I will, pull some strings for you.
Yes, please. So I'm gonna go into graphic novel land now. It's The Wash Day Diaries
Mm,
by Jamila Roaster and Robin Smith. I hope I said her last name correctly. This is a Black girl love, Black American adult graphic novel. We have four girls. I forget their names. Davine, Nisha, Kim, and Cookie. It's basically about their everyday life. You can call it slice of life for any of your manga or anime lovers. It centers around their wash day routine. So for Black girls or any girls that have a wash day routine, you spend your whole day just taking care of your hair and what is involved in that. So they talk about love, life, there's depression involved. There's just a lot of just everyday life things that goes on in this. And it was such a beautiful graphic novel. I said I wish that there was another one because it was very much a micro series. I don't remember if it was like on Webtoon or something, but they were able to expand it into a full graphic novel, and I just wish that there was more. But I really love this story as a Black girl myself with curly hair who really needs to have their own wash day routine. Like this inspired me, but I love it so much.
so first of all, I love graphic novels. Lily also loved Wash Day Diaries.
Yeah.
I'm curious about the Wash Day tourist or tradition. Is that something that has been like passed down for generations, or is this something that these four girls do because they obviously all have the same need?
I in this story, you don't really get to see from mom, grandma, and everything, but it is something that historically is passed down, especially if you have people in your family that know the texture of your hair, have had the same texture, and know how to take care of it. In some families, like let's say mixed families, you don't know how to take care of your hair, or they didn't, your family, mom, dad, whoever, doesn't know how to take care of your hair. So that wash day routine doesn't come down to you, and you have to eventually grow up and learn how to do it. So with them, in this time, they're adults. So at this point, they've either figured it out or they work together on figuring out what works best for it. So I think I read this a couple years ago as well, and I don't remember if it was passed down from their family, but at this point in time, it's a routine.
Mhm.
So now, whether they pass it on to their daughters, if they have them, or any other women in their life, I think they will, because it's also a form of self-care and self-love to take care of your hair, because it's so important in our lives.
Hmm. Well, I also love that they have used that aspect of themselves to connect with each other and find time a day, every now and then to use that, that I don't want to say excuse, but like that this thing that they need to do anyways to,
Yeah.
hang out with each other and talk about whatever's going on in their lives. It's beautiful.
Yeah, I love it. It's a way to just set aside that time, like you said, to take care of yourself, take care of each other, do something that you have to do to maintain your health, but also take care of other things involving health as well, but physical, mental, emotional, and everything.
Mhm. Well,
Yeah,
I
I
also
love
really
that.
that it's a graphic novel so that you can see them. You're not just
Yes.
reading about them and imagining what they look like. You can actually see their hair going through the day.
I feel like that's what made it a bit more emotional for me as well, is that putting it in the graphic novel format made it more appealing to me too, because you get to experience that and feel that and see that, as opposed to just kind of trying to imagine it in your head. For someone who may not have a wash day routine, it's harder to experience that from what I've heard.
Well, I love it. So I will definitely be looking that one up.
Yay. Okay, another middle grade poetry book, Other Words from Home or For Home, sorry, by Jasmine Warga. This one is Arab American. I also read this the same year that I read Red, White, and Whole. Judah and her mother are sent to live in Cincinnati after things in Syria are kind of a little bit more volatile. This is more current times, contemporary times. So not only are they learning how to navigate America as Arab Americans, Muslim Americans, but also trying to maintain their heritage as well. I think Judah is in middle school. I think Judah's mom was also pregnant at the time. So it's Judah, her mom, they're pregnant. Dad and brother are still in Syria, so they're having to live with like an uncle and their family. And it's very difficult. They're also having to learn English and just try to assimilate and maintain their heritage, maintain their culture while navigating this. Their family is separated. And another book about cultural identity, another mother-daughter relationship being tested by a new country. Not as strained as maybe the other one. There isn't anything too bad that's happening with mom. It's just the stress of having to watch both kids now by herself while learning a new language, while trying to get a job, and just it's very stressful, of course, but I feel like this one was a little bit lighter because you don't see what's happening in Syria as much, but that is still very much in Judah's mind because dad and brother are gone because of it.
Mhm. I love the cover of this book.
Yeah.
I see it in the shelves in the library, and I'm always
Yes.
like, it always catches my eye. I don't know if it's the color or the look on her face or something, but it's just
Yeah.
so eye-catching.
I love the color scheme, and I like that you see the airplane up there and then you see like Cincinnati down here.
Mhm.
So, and then that I think like that almost looks like either a sunrise or sunset over here too, but I like the color scheme. It's
Yeah,
really pretty.
it's pretty. I did want to say about the first book that you mentioned. You had said something about historical fiction, the 80s, and this has been coming up for me a little bit recently because I'm a child of the 80s. I'm a little bit older than you, and I just don't think that I can consider the 80s to be historical fiction. I refuse. I refuse.
And that's okay. I just looked on Goodreads and it said historical fiction, so I just said it. Because I don't think anything in the 90s is historical fiction either, and I'm from the 90s, so I'm
I
like, no.
know. I can barely tolerate the 70s being historical fiction. So I just wanted to put that out there for anybody listening that it's not. It's just not.
Exactly. Exactly. Okay, we're moving on to some horror now, which you could
Oh.
never tell because this cover is so pretty. It's The Undead Truth of Us by Brittany S. Lewis, Black girl horror, young adult. Um, the main character, Zeri, she is coping with the fact that right before her mother died, her mom turned into a zombie right in front of her eyes and then just died. And now she sees zombies everywhere and she's the only one that can see them. Nobody else can see the zombie. She can't explain why some people are zombies to her and others aren't. There's a guy that she met that brings her joy, but sometimes he'll turn into a zombie and sometimes he doesn't. So there's that kind of thing that's going on. But she's also learning how to cope with the grief of losing her mom, the coping with an aunt who's having to be her guardian but doesn't seem to want her around, and also just learning how to find hope again. So it's horror in the zombie aspect, but it's not like jump scare, it's not body gore or anything. It's just the horror of dealing with that grief and the mind just playing tricks on her because she's not able to control what she's seeing when she sees these zombies. So
Mhm.
this is such a beautiful story, and I think if I saw zombies randomly, I would probably be freaked out too, but I it was very interesting to see why she was seeing these zombies and what it meant for her psyche and what, like how she was able to deal with losing her mom.
Mhm.
But
She didn't actually see zombie. Well, I don't want any spoilers, but was she actually were there actual zombies around her and she was just seeing zombies? Because her mom didn't come back as a zombie, right?
no, so her mom died completely. Like there are, I would say the best way to say is that there are no actual zombies in this world, but she is seeing people that are having zombie tendencies in
Hmm.
front of her, but everybody else sees them as normal people.
Hmm.
So almost as if somebody is seeing like ghosts that other people can't see,
Hmm.
but they are still very much real.
Hmm.
I don't know how to describe it, but it's very weird.
So do you think that an aspect of that is that she's seeing people's true selves?
I think that's the connection is that the zombie part of them was them had something to do with their personalities and how they reflected their true selves to other people. Was the zombie how they really are, or was the zombie the mask that they put on for people to save face?
Hmm.
So I don't want to spoil that a little bit because I don't want to say which one was correct or not, but that one, when you go more into that, into why she saw them, it made sense. So
Mhm.
sorry, that was very vague.
No, as it should be. I was thinking about, I watched the TV show Ghosts and she can see ghosts, but
Oh
nobody
yeah.
else can, but they're actually really ghosts. So like, I'm just kind of like,
Yeah.
yeah, okay. All right. All right. Because
Okay.
the reason I asked too is because you said that she was going through the grief process of losing her mother, but if her mother came back as a zombie, then she didn't completely lose her. So I just was clarifying.
Yeah, no, it was weird. Like her mom turned into a zombie before she actually died. So there was a period of time where her mom was like not herself. She was a zombie. And then her mom was dead,
Mm-hmm.
no longer there. They took her body away and stuff. So she never came back. Just,
Like really great metaphors there.
yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. The next one is The Leavers by Lisa
Oh,
Ko.
I couldn't wait for you to talk about this book.
Yay! So Chinese adult contemporary fiction. Demi Guo's mother left him without a trace one day. She went to work at the nail salon and just never came back. So Deming was eventually adopted by two white professors and was grew up eventually as Daniel Wilkinson. So you learn about Deming growing up in New York, right? So there's the before and after growing up Chinese, then growing up as an all-American boy with white parents. Learning about that, also his strained relationship with his mom and finding, questioning why was he abandoned as a child? Why didn't mom take him with her? Where did she go? Like, what was he not good enough? Just all these questions that you have as a child when your parent leaves you without a trace or with no reasoning. And at the very end, they do explain mom's point of view of what happened. So I think part of that does take place in China, and I can't spoil on that, but you do end up hearing her point of view at some point, but most of it does take place from Deming's point of view. And I purposely call him that because Deming is his birth name. That's the name that his mom gave him. Daniel is the name that his adoptive parents gave him, and there is a difference between the two. So, again, another strained relationship between a mom and a kid, and I think this one also deals with a different type of cultural identity too, where he was very secure in who he was growing up as Deming, but once he had no ties to his Chinese heritage and grew up with his white adoptive parents, they changed his name to Daniel Wilkinson. He grew up very much Americanized and had to just kind of assimilate again to fit the Upper East Side, or not Upper East Side. It was more upstate New York, culture. How do you go through that? And does that change you as a person? And does that make you better or worse? So that was some of the things that he went through. This one, I forgot to write a review on it a while ago, but this was a book that stuck with me for a few years.
Mm, it would. It kind of, I guess I'm trying to think, how do I want to put this? It makes me want to ask about in Wash Day Diaries, they are actually keeping part of their culture alive by doing this thing. And I'm wondering if he was able to create in the book, keep any of his own culture alive, because you said he was pretty secure in his own himself was a child. So was he able to do that, or did his parents try to, quash that?
I feel like he tried to, but and it's been a while since I read this, but when you're around other kids and they tease you for certain things, then
Mm.
you start to feel ashamed about what you're originally proud of, that you start to hide those things. Now, when you're an adult and you start to be a little bit more secure in yourself, do you go back to those roots, or is it like, well, now you're proud to be Chinese again? Like, there's some of those things that happen as he gets older and goes back into or goes into college and is an adult. But um, he also like that was something that he had to figure out as well, because it's like his adopted parents didn't understand that part of him because that's not something they were accustomed to. I don't know if that's something that they tried to even learn from him, but he was like, well, that's a part of me and I want to hold on to my mom, but do I? Because she left me. So there's also that conflict as well.
Yeah, no, this is a very deep book. I also really liked it. I'm asking questions more for the audience and then for me, but like I just think it's the thing about culture, keeping your culture, assimilating, those are topics that I know we talk about quite a bit.
Yeah. I know. I always gravitate towards those.
I do want to say that your mom's probably never going to ask you to do a theme again.
I know. I love you, Mom. Happy Mother's Day. All right. We got three more. This one is The Way You Make Me
Oh, I
Feel.
love Maureen Gu. I love her.
Me too. This is the very first book I read from her, Korean American young adult contemporary romance. Clara Shin, she's Korean American. Her dad is Korean Brazilian, and they have a food truck called Cobra, Korean Brazilian. So cool. She ends up having to work alongside her classmate, Rose Carver, who's Black. And they get into fights a lot, but I love that during this punishment over summer, they end up learning how to be friends and they learn to be like a girl's girl. And there is a bit of a romance with a guy named Hamlet. I can't believe his parents named him Hamlet. And the reason why I thought of this book also was because even though I really did not like Clara's mom. Her dad was amazing. I loved the relationship between Clara and her dad. And when I remember when I was re writing my review, I said that the relationship between Clara and her dad reminded me of my relationship with me and my mom. So see, there's a positive. It's just not with her mom.
Yeah. She just had to wait for it. I know. I think Maureen Gu is so underrated. Like, I really wish more people read her books because she is interesting and smart and insightful and funny and I don't know, like she reminds me of the all the boys I've loved
Jenny Han,
Jenny
yeah.
Han, yeah, reminds me of that. And so I'm just like, how does one person become so popular and their books become a TV show that are so like well loved, and then somebody like Maureen who is just as fascinating and not so like I just think everybody should be reading her.
I agree because every book that I've read from Maureen Gu, I've absolutely loved. And I
Mhm.
got to interview her one time and I loved it. I think I went to heaven because I was like, well, okay. I never, I can be happy forever. So that was my greatest time ever. I
Yeah,
would read anything that she writes.
I would too, and I highly suggest everybody do.
Yes. All right. One more physical book, Natalie Tan's Book of Luck and Fortune by Roselle Lim. This one's also Chinese American adult contemporary fiction. The main character, Natalie, returns home after her mother dies and tries to revitalize her grandma's restaurant in San Francisco, Chinatown. Her mom actually went through was it agorapho yeah, agoraphobia when she was growing up because there was a really bad accident which made her mom just never leave the apartment.
Mhm.
And Natalie always felt that the neighbors never took care of her family, her mom, or anything. So as an adult, and she comes back, she's maybe seeing that the neighbors did actually take care of her family in ways that maybe as a child she just didn't realize. So there is that strained mother-daughter relationship again that Natalie's having to work through now that her mom is gone. She can't, fix it now that mom is gone, but she's trying to do it in a way that saves the neighborhood and saves her grandma's restaurant. So it did make me think about my family too. It just made me think of like, hopefully, I never get to a point where my relationships with my mom are strained like that because it would make me really sad. But having the heritage and the thoughts of thinking of how much these women meant to their neighborhood and their neighbors was just really important. So it
Mhm.
just I love this. This was my first book from Roselle Lim, and I really, really enjoyed this one.
But we were talking about this earlier, and I think it's awesome that you have a great relationship with your mom. And I met her last month, and she was the hoot. I mean, virtually. But a lot of times it's the vehicle in books, the tension to create growth between the characters. Have you found that as well in these books that you're finding that there is that tension between mom and kid?
I feel like I miss what you asked me. Can you say that again? I'm so
It's
sorry.
okay. No, it's okay. That the tension that is between the mom and the kid, or the yeah, is that it's the vehicle to create growth between them or as characters.
I feel like it's a lot more interesting because if the relationship was perfect, there would be no story really. And um, it not only allows the parent or the mom to grow, but also the kid to grow. And
Mhm.
I think it allows for them to see where the other is coming from and make that relationship that much stronger.
Mhm.
So I like that because I feel like it also mirrors my relationship with my mom, where I had to grow up and see where she's coming from and she's had to see where I'm coming from. So it's made our relationship that much stronger as we've gotten older and I've matured. So
Mhm.
yeah, because we have our funny moments, we have our not so funny moments, and I'm just like, to me, it makes it a lot more real because I don't think relationships between mother and child are going to be perfect, but it makes it I feel it that much more compelling when you do see that there are true struggles, but they work through it and still love each other after that.
Right. Well, have you read Heartstopper, the
Not
series?
yet.
Oh, in that one, I won't give any spoilers, but the mothers are always surprisingly supportive. Not always,
Okay.
but very surprisingly supportive. Just when you think they're going to be like, nope, nope, I'm not going to have this. they surprise you. And I love that. So like I think that's another aspect of like what could be tension is what you think your parents are going to think, and then
Yeah.
they don't, you know,
Okay.
they surprise you.
That one's always like on the longest hold at my library, which is why I haven't read it yet. So Heartstopper.
Heartstopper. It's amazing by is it Alice Osman? Osman?
Alice Oseman, yeah. I know the book you're talking about. I just haven't been able to read it.
No, you should. It's wonderful. So put yourself on that list. But that's like another mother or parent type of thing that I've seen in a lot of stories, and I appreciate it because I think we always think the like, oh my God, they're gonna freak out, and they
Yeah.
maybe they won't.
Yeah.
Okay, so your last book for today
Yes, I have
is
one more that my library didn't have on time, but it's called Almond by Won Pyung-sun. It's actually translated Korean contemporary fiction. The main character, Young Jae, was born with alexithymia, which makes it hard for him to feel emotions like fear or anger. So part of a disability, right? And a random act of violence happens on the eve of his 16th birthday, and it leaves him alone on his own after living with his mom and his grandma, who have been helping him to give him cues on remembering social cues, like remember to smile, remember to say thank you, just all those things that help him to get through life without people kind of questioning his disability, right? So he not only now does he have to navigate the world alone again because both his mom and his grandma are gone, but he ends up getting bullied by another teenager named Gon and finds out that maybe they end up developing some sort of friendship because Gon teaches him a few things. Young Jae also teaches Gon a few things, and that was one of my first translated fictions that I've read. I think I read it a couple years ago, or maybe a little bit longer than that. But it was one, what happened to mom and grandma was just very, very heartbreaking. So check your trigger warnings as well. But it was also very interesting to see how young Jay, somebody who had a hard time feeling these emotions, was able to learn those things from the bully.
Mhm.
So somebody who bullied him, but somebody who he was able to learn these things from. And I think somebody he ended up having some sort of respect for, somebody who he actually wanted to help support, was an interesting turn of events. Like I forget what exactly happened, but they ended up changing their minds, and Gun ended up wanting to be friends and protect Young Jae, and Young Jae felt the same. So it was beautiful in that Young Jae finally wasn't alone, but it did take like the bullying and being alone in after this act of violence that really shouldn't have happened, and him having to navigate just this world that kind of told him that he's weird because he doesn't know how to feel emotions, right? And he doesn't have people in his life that are helping him to remember, like, don't forget to say thank you when somebody says this, or ask somebody how they're doing, even though you don't care. But, it's just to help him kind of assimilate, even though really he shouldn't have to, like people should still respect him even if he doesn't feel these emotions.
Mhm. Wow, that sounds like a little bit of a tough read, especially the bully aspect. I mean, losing
Yeah.
your caretakers, of course, but the bully aspect, because, you know, kids are told to try, kids who are bullied sometimes are told that the bullies have reason for what they do. And
Yeah.
I'm sure they do, but that doesn't really change the fact that you feel bullied or that you are being bullied. But this is an interesting turnaround on that, that is actually true. Like they actually did learn about each other.
Yeah. Yeah, because it's not an excuse, but they ended up turning it around in a way that made it not worthwhile, but it did change into something better. It wasn't just like he had to be tortured
Hmm.
as a plot point.
Yeah, yeah. The torture was actually part of that growth, I guess.
Right. Yeah, I don't know how to explain that.
No, but what we just have another minute, but what made you pick up a book that was translated? That's something that's a barrier for a lot of people. It's scary for a lot of us.
So actually, my previous library, Suffolk Public Library in Virginia, used to do, or they do a program called Ready Read subscriptions. So I give them all of my things that I like, things I don't like, and one of their librarians picks 5 books for me, and that was one of them.
Oh, wow. Librarians save lives.
Yes.
Let's say that. Well, thank you, Leland. This is wonderful. I always love your recommendations. Whenever you send me your list, I just add them immediately to my TBR pile because you just make the best ones. So thank you. Next month, we're meeting on the second Thursday of the month because of a holiday. I'll send that out to everybody. But in the meantime, happy reading, everyone. And Leland, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Tell your brother I said happy birthday.
I will.
All right. Good
Bye.
night, everybody.